Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is The Morning Drive. It is Mira Business FM. UAE brands are rethinking the way they communicate. We have a new report from PR Hub, which shows that more than 72% have changed their PR strategy in the last year. So AI, cautious messaging, and crisis comms are now reshaping the industry. With me this morning from PR Hub is the PR manager, Catherine Hampton. First time we've met. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Good to have you here. So look, let's start with that headline number. This is 72% isn't a minor optimization. It's a pretty big deal, I think. I know you talked to 25 different companies in Dubai. So what's triggered this kind of sudden re-engineering of how UAE brands want to speak to the public?
I mean, of course, the tension is number one. With the economic tensions, the geopolitical shifts, we've seen a lot of changes in the PR industry. And that statistic, 72% of brands have overhauled their entire strategy. That's one of the biggest shifts that we found in our research. I would say that brands are now looking towards different communication. We always, as PRs, especially at PR Hub, we have very specific scripts that we stick to. And I would say that tone has become so important during these times.
Okay.
I would even go so far as to say that we've started from scratch. And sometimes that's the best way to go forward with it. It's not always the same case. We take everything as a case-by-case basis, especially with what's going on.
So in the last 3 months, lots of companies turning around and saying, look, we have to completely rethink this, re-engineer this. That's what you're seeing people doing, going back to the drawing board.
Yes, exactly. And that's not a bad thing. To be honest, this is also part of our job as PRs, and this is just all about adapting. Of course, we'd rather not be dealing with this, but at the end of the day, as PRs, we do know how to handle this. We've also seen that crisis communication has become one of the top necessities.
I mean, as you'd expect.
Yes.
At a time like now,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before, it was more of a niche that we've seen within the PR industry, but right now it's a full-on necessity. And not just talking about the tensions that are ongoing right now. We're also thinking about these kind of necessities for the long term. And we can get more into the research about what else has popped up, what else is needed. But that is one of the biggest indicators.
I mean, I've got lots of questions to ask you, Catherine, to get to the bottom of this, because research like this, I think, is fascinating when there is such a big change. And it's a huge change. There are obvious reasons. If you think about geopolitical tension and companies going back to the drawing board, we've got the introduction of AI, so much more into so many more businesses. And I guess lots of the change we're seeing is maybe AI driven. Your report highlights it as a massive force reshaping the industry. No surprise there, it's reshaping every industry. AI can generate a press release in seconds, far faster than you and I could write something. It can automate media monitoring. It has so many benefits potentially. The thing is, though, you've got to weigh that up with trust and relationships and friendship and the human element, I suppose, in public relations. So how are UAE brands deploying AI so that they can get more done, but so that they're not robotic in their approach? Because that I think people can see through the AI noise.
It's so obvious when a press release has been written with ChatGPT or Claude, even though, of course, there's more advancements with the tools that we've been using, but it's very obvious. We do use it internally for research. So, for example, if we need to find external sources, we definitely use that, but we never completely trust it ourselves. We always verify those external sources. That way, we can also make sure that it's a trustworthy piece of information. Whether it be lifestyle, tech, one of the many types of clients and industries that we handle, we always have our own editorial and human touch. That's why actually, even though production is used with AI, we will never lose that editorial human touch. That can never be lost.
The thing is with AI, and you're right, you know that something is AI, and there are simple ways of finding
Exactly.
AI elements, things like dashes between words, isn't there? They're never spaced. I mean, there are little things that AI does that you can spot straight away. So where are regional PR teams seeing the highest kind of return on investment in the AI that they adopt? Is it in data gathering, the research, predictive analysis? I guess that's where it mainly is. Or are you finding some PR teams are using it for content creation?
I do know other PRs using it for content creation. We are not
That's
one.
kind of cheating.
Exactly. So, one thing that we really focus on, especially, whether it be internally with our clients, for public use, with our researchers, we're very transparent. We say very simply, look, this is what we're doing. We're offering you this service because we are doing it ourselves. Yes, we are using AI for certain things to help with production like research, but this is something that is always verified. Number one, by us. And almost all of us at PR Hub come from journalism backgrounds. So this is another thing that helps us know how to verify, the process of verification. And that's how we also know what people need. We know that they need a trustworthy source, like you've mentioned in one of your points before. That is something that will always be needed. It'll never change. And that's why one thing I would say with PR it's really important is knowing how to automate and knowing how to write the prompts. That's something very specific that we know how to do.
So I mean, this is what we all need to do, to use AI as a tool.
Exactly.
Right? That's the key. So utilizing AI for research purposes, to me, makes a great deal of sense because it can do a lot more than I can do in a couple of seconds that would take me 30 minutes to do. Generative AI is handling a lot more of the copywriting, or maybe condensing the copywriting. And I think we can see that. And you can see why that's useful, allows you to get more done. That's fine. So what do you need today to be a really good communications professional? Because you have to, obviously, if this is taking care of that, you need to move on to take care of something else. So what are the skills that are irreplaceable?
Definitely multitasking. I mean, I think that's a very obvious one. But I would also say putting yourself in other people's shoes is one of the most important things. We as PRs put ourselves in the shoes of our clients, in the shoes of the public. So even, let's say, if I'm working on a campaign, I would step back and think, how does this look to me if I were an outsider? And then I would think, how would this look to my client? And that way I can, just have different perspectives. That's my point.
So it's the feel of it. You're
It's the
saying.
feel of
It's
it.
how PR approaches you, because they very often, and I'm not talking about you particularly here, but some public relations I think can be a little bit tone deaf at times. So that's something that you think is an irreplaceable skill.
Definitely.
Okay. Cautious messaging is another side of the report that comes out really strongly, along with obviously AI adoption, which is everywhere. Companies are certainly more cautious at the moment, and I guess the reasons, it's kind of the obvious question, isn't it? We've got regional tension, people are careful with what they say and what they do, the steps they make. Is that what it is?
I would say another thing that's happening with this cautious messaging is that brands aren't just looking at the usual coverage. They don't want to just be everywhere anymore. They are picking exactly which channel and at which time they need to be at. That's coming into consideration with tone. Tone has been like almost the main topic for us at PR Hub, especially.
When you say tone, what do you mean by that? How would you define that?
So I would say the tone would be how you allow yourself to be perceived through communication. And right now, a lot of that has become very resilience-based messaging. It's all about, we're united, we need to be joined together. And I think what I've been seeing as well, which is really good, is that communities have been coming together more than ever, especially in the PR community. We're seeing a lot of support. I would say tone is what makes or breaks you, especially when you're at an agency handling more than 40 clients. And especially with, having campaigns during this time, having events. But for example, I personally would always push my clients to speak up, even during times like these, because people will remember a brand that did or didn't speak up. And that's what we're focusing on right now.
I mean, cautious messaging, I think to myself, is that people not speaking up, not being bold? That's not something that you're recommending. So in the UAE context, how do you define being cautious, but also being visible, speaking up?
It's a great question. So number one is to make sure our clients know the current news, what's going on, the regulations, especially, for example, if it comes to an event. It's obviously not the safest time. So we do, for example, recommend that they, push it to another time, or that at least regulations are being met and that we're following all the rules that are necessary. We do also give our clients media training. We teach them a little bit about how to answer a question in, an easygoing way, diplomatic. We never want something to be staged, so we basically tell them about everything that's going on, what they can talk about, what's best to avoid, and we basically give out that training from us internally as an agency.
Media training used to be about how to duck questions. It was always, this is how you avoid that question. So it's not really that now. All right then. So you've got this balance, haven't you? If you're messaging cautiously, or you're trying to control the narrative, all of those phrases that we hear. One way of looking at that is you're being risk averse, maybe a little bit boring. I don't know. Or is it that you are? I mean, I guess you would picture that you're more sophisticated and more precise, more precisely aligned, maybe. And there's a balance to be found between those two worlds.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know where I'm from, Tim. So I like to be very precise and very straightforward.
Yeah.
And I think clients appreciate that. Okay. I think the public, moreover, appreciates that. Something that we at PR Hub are very proud of is our ability to communicate. I mean, that's what the whole agency was built on, of course. Yeah. That's what PR really is. And in terms of being boring, I've never liked to be boring. I never would like my clients to be boring. We can always find a solution.
I was talking about brands, not you, Catherine, don't worry. But this is the thing, isn't it? At a time like now, you don't want to make any mistakes.
Of course.
And there is always a perception there that, that was a little bit safe. Or if, on the other side, well, that was precisely what we wanted to be at that time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. One of the things that always goes through my head is the UAE is this kind of melting pot of 185, 200 nationalities, whatever it is that we have in this one city, and strong local heritage, multinational expats. If you're a PR manager trying to bring all of that together, it's a thankless task. It's very difficult to do, and I appreciate that. But how do you kind of audit content so that it resonates across all of these demographics? Because somebody's going to be like, oh, that's fantastic. And somebody's going to be like, oh, I find that so offensive, or that. Of course. Very hard to do.
Of course. You can't be a people pleaser.
No.
You definitely can't, especially in this industry. And, people will always have their own opinions. It's normal. It's human nature. And we definitely expect that. I think what we know how to do, especially at PR Hub and myself, is that we know the right buttons to push. And that's what I also wanted to say about me not being boring. I'm not boring because I represent my clients who I push them not to be boring. So let's say, for example, we would have a campaign and come up with an idea. We would like to tie it with a cultural trend or a cultural event, for example, Eid, things that resonate with people. So that's what we like to find, and that's our main point, is how it resonates with you.
Sure.
PR is mostly a feeling. It's something that, of course, you can have training for, but really it's something that comes over time and with experience, that what connects people, what resonates with them.
Yeah, there's emotional intelligence,
exactly.
isn't there, in it?
So
Yeah.
that's how we stay on our toes.
Yeah.
And that's how we, gain new clients. This is how we have new campaigns. This is how we have our own perspectives. Like now, we've had this research and we're able to inform people because we understand the perspectives.
The report states that crisis comms, and this is the other thing that leaps off of the report pages, they're no longer a kind of break the glass in case of emergency kind of thing. If 72% of brands are changing their strategy, how many are maybe prioritizing, being proactive in terms of crisis modeling over just their traditional kind of media outreach?
I want to start this off by saying that Rami Joudi, the head of corporate communications at BMW Middle East, said something very interesting.
Okay.
He actually commented on our research. He was kind enough to do so, and he said, not every moment is a brand moment. So that's something that we start off by recognizing. When it comes to crisis communications, we, number one, have statements on file that we can amend should anything happen. So we kind of expect a worst case scenario. And that's what comes with us as PRs, right? We have to kind of expect each and every different scenario. It's like a game of chess.
You're the ones who have to sort them out. Let's face it.
Exactly. Yeah, we have to think about what are the possibilities of every scenario, what's the solution. And that's something that we are trained to do. We do think about, okay, what do we need to put in place to either avoid this or be prepared for this? And that's something that we've been thinking about a lot lately, not just for our clients, but for us especially, how to handle it. And these are just things that we need to keep in mind.
The thing is, it's about speed now, though, isn't it? Because your survival window for corporate response is pretty narrow now, isn't it? If a brand doesn't address a reputational issue, for example,
exactly,
in the first hour, sometimes minutes, potentially they completely lose control of wherever that narrative goes. I mean, and that's really, really hard because, click, upload, gone. You're fighting you're fighting something that never disappears.
I'm Palestinian, so I have a lot of fight in me.
Palestinian, Russian, and Ukrainian as well. It's because there is some fight there. But it's a really interesting thing, I think. How have people responded to the report? How is PR viewed at the moment? I think I'm asking.
That's a very interesting question.
At a time like now, I mean, specifically.
And I can already hear what's going through your head while you're asking that question.
I can feel it in my soul.
I think I mentioned that I come from a journalism background, and everyone sees PR as like the dark side. But
it's the eternal battle between journalists and PRs, isn't it? That if you leave journalism and go to PR, then it is the dark side of the force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that people don't realize that PRs and journalists can work together very seamlessly. So, it might seem like the dark side from an outsider's perspective, but in reality, when you're internally looking at what's happening, when you're building those relationships, knowing what people need and knowing that you're the one that can provide that, then it gives you a completely different outlook. I'm sorry, would you mind repeating your question about the what you just asked me?
I absolutely can. I mean, how do you see the way PR is viewed at the moment? Because you've got a report out, people are responding to it. What are they telling you?
I mean, among many things, like with AI, with Arabic speaking being the top necessity when it comes to drafting, especially. Thankfully, I'm able to do that. My team is able to help me with that. I think now PR is being viewed as not just, whatever PR we can find. It's like your, what's that word that they use in English? It was in the movie The Blind Side. He's a backup. Do you know what I mean?
I've not seen the movie, unfortunately.
You need to see this movie.
Yeah, but I'm going to now. That's for sure. I feel like I've been told.
He was basically in football the one who protected his team. He was the defense.
Right.
So I think that's how a lot of people see PR right now. They see it as defense, but in a way that, not that we have anything to defend, but in a way that we have things to say, in a way that we can communicate, in a way that we can bring people together, So I feel like we are the ones who, especially with what's happening, we are the ones who have kind of, stepped into that role.
And I think PR is very often the kind of that last line of defense,
Exactly.
isn't it? Unfortunately. Exactly. And you kind of have to be there with the ultimate kind of resolution a lot of the time. I think that's how a lot of people see it. Just a reminder, it's Mira Business FM. If you're with us on the live stream, good morning to you. Don't forget lots of today's discussion. The full discussion will be on LinkedIn and YouTube, and lots of the discussion will be on Instagram later. We're over time. I always run over time. A couple of questions I wanted to ask you, and they're kind of quick fire questions. I've got a load here. I'm going to choose a couple for you.
I'm ready.
Catherine, are brands pulling back from traditional media? your newspapers, TV, radio, whatever.
Definitely. Social media is number one right now. Traditional media does still have a lot of value to it, of course. It's never going to go away. A little bit over 51% of traditional media is still really important, and we see that. But why social media is taking over now is because, of course, we're being very cautious of what's being put out into the news. But with social media, it gets the message out faster. It's a bit more adaptable with the content that we want to put out. And actually, a lot of brands are putting forward their news, and it's being recirculated throughout social media.
And video as well, and all the other benefits, I suppose. So that drives the biggest results. What communications mistakes are brands making right now, do you think? What do you see?
Either not speaking up is one thing, or I would say not focusing on the community-based aspect. Because at the end of the day, we are seeing, like I said, a lot of that resilience messaging, but if they're not being part of that, then I would say they are missing out a little bit. So I would say those two things.
So being part of the greater good is the right way to approach now. Okay, final question for you then. And this goes to, well, it's just simply this. Is confidence starting to return to the UAE market? I mean, during March, obviously, much tougher time. Seems like now it just feels like there's confidence there. But, me saying I feel more confident doesn't mean much. Are you seeing more confidence?
Definitely. I'm seeing more recovery. I would say it's still cautious recovery for sure, but it's happening from what I'm seeing. Especially within the media, I feel like the fear is kind of dissipating a little bit, which obviously is great to see. And it's great to see, I say now Dubai traffic is back. It went away for a little while, and I think people were quite happy about it, but it's also good to see that it's back.
Who thought a few months ago we'd be praising the traffic issues on the roads? I know. What a turnaround it's been. How can people get your report if people want to read it? Is it available? Are you publishing it? Where can they find it?
Yes, we will be publishing it on the PR Hub website.
Okay. Yeah. Catherine Hamdan, PR Manager at PR Hub. You can find PR Hub at prhub.ae. It's been good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A reminder, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram and mirabusiness.fm. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. UAE residents are paying for perks and rewards they rarely use, and Disco, it's a new app, says the problem is bigger than people realize. It's a UAE startup, and they've launched a platform that helps consumers unlock discounts and benefits that are already tied to their bank cards or maybe their memberships or loyalty programs, all that kind of stuff that, I've got to be honest, I am useless at doing. We've got the Disco founder and CEO with us. Her name is Ulka Mamadzada. She's going to talk about the hidden value that we are missing and why smarter spending is becoming big business in the UAE. It's good to meet you.
Thanks for having me,
You're
Tim.
very welcome. I'm kind of excited about this because I've already said there, I'm so useless at reward stuff and collecting, air miles and aggregating it all. But I guess I'm not unusual. Lots of us are. We live in this kind of subscription and reward heavy culture here, don't we?
Right.
In the Emirates, in the UAE. How much money are we actually leaving on the table every month? Because either we're not aware or we're not using the rewards and memberships that we've got.
Right. So I would actually go as a conservative number. I would not even go on the extreme end, but I would say that on a monthly basis, as an individual, you'd be able to say around 300 dirhams, just using what you already have. And this may not sound like a huge number.
It's $1,000 a year.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Wow.
So like that 3 to 4K a year, that's a minimum range, right? There are a bunch of statistics that would support that in terms of how people consume in the UAE.
Yeah.
So for example, in average, 40% of the adults in the UAE would go out 1 to 3 times a week, right? This is already much higher than the global average of 25%. So imagine this 3 times that you go out, and if 2 out of 3 times you manage to save 30 to 40 dirhams a week, that adds up very fast, and that's just dining.
I'm not even able to do the maths, but I'm with you. So let's say you look in your wallet right now, or scroll through the cards on your phone, however you do it. Between credit cards and health insurances and gym memberships and loyalty apps and all that stuff that we have, we're sitting on a gold mine, and they're kind of going to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. An average person in the UAE, based on the research that we've done upon launch, has somewhere between 9 to 12 cards, memberships, etc., that entitle them to some kind of offers.
Okay.
So how many of us actually, before sitting down for dinner, go on a half an hour research on what membership one of those offer gives you a discount or some kind of offer? No one.
I don't even know. I said to you before we came on air, I was in a supermarket yesterday, and I went up to pay, and then the first question was, "Have you got our app?" I can't remember the name, and I just went, "I don't know what that is."
Yeah.
And the woman sort of looked at me pitifully. She was clearly there was a little bit of pity there, but I don't have these things, and I guess again, it's hard to track. But they're benefits that we're kind of already paying for.
100%.
In a weird kind of way.
Right. So upon launch, again, we've kind of mapped out, because obviously we had to check first, is there enough fragmentation for us to enter the market, right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at around 60 different platforms or providers that we could map at that point. At this point, we're 3 weeks post-launch. We already have 33 different platforms or programs that are there that you can select from. And we've actually added probably 30 more to our mapping list, like within the UAE.
So how does it work? So you download your app, right, and you create your membership, and then you just add your cards.
Yeah,
your membership.
actually, it's even simpler
if you can
than that.
remember them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So what you would do, you would register, right? The app is completely free. You download it, you register. It immediately takes you into something we call memberships and rewards wallets. And at that point, there is no details that you add as per se, right? There are no card details, nothing else that you add, no private information, no sensitive data.
Okay.
All you do is literally just select, so tick boxes, and say it takes you to through different screens that you can check. So there is a page with banks, for example. You open that, you select the bank you have, and you tick the boxes, or you just search for your card. Then you can go through your, Kareem membership and entertainer and everything else. So there are a bunch of things there are a bunch of services actually and memberships that are completely free. They give these offers and we don't know about them. So you would see them as well. At that point, you may not even know them. They're free as well. So you keep, essentially you go through the list of the platforms that we have. You just tick everything that you need. And these are now your wallet. So what the app does after that, it fully personalizes the experience for you. So what I call it, we do the digging, you do the living. So there's quite a lot of data, and the app will basically filter through the entire noise, and it will only show you what you have. So you don't have to see the offers of everything else unless you want to.
Okay, so then you can compare, and it's like a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is available, and is it linked to? If I was in a mall, say. Will it? If I go past a shop with an offer, will it sort of go ding, or is it not?
It will in the future. Actually, we're building that feature now. So since we've just launched 3 weeks ago, we're still checking what our users really use within the app. So we put that our priority towards what's used most, and that is actually one of the features that is requested the most. So we will be building that in as well.
I've just realised how uselessly techy I am. Will it go ding?
It's actually it does work like that.
It kind of does work like that.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how it works. Why is it, though, that financial institutions, brands, they promote these perks and they have these marketing campaigns and we join and then you forget that you've got the membership. But why is it so difficult to track, or why has it been, until you, I suppose, been so difficult to track and redeem them dynamically in kind of real life?
I think the answer really goes back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of fragmentation. I think just by themselves, if you look at each one of the platforms, they're not that complex, right? Yes, in general, the loyalty setup and reward setup is not an easy topic from the setup perspective. From the consumer perspective, that is supposed to be easy. All you do, you use the card or you open the app or something like that. Now, the problem is that there are just too many of them. So the ecosystem of loyalty and perks becomes so extensive that it's almost like it's gotten to the point where the consumer just fails to find something. And although this was not meant to be like that by design, this fragmentation causes that eventually.
I suppose so. But it's at that point where I'll be in somewhere and then I'll think, oh, I've got an entertainer voucher for that and I didn't use it. And it's only ever when somebody says, do you have one, that I remember. So I need that jog all the time. What convinced you that this was where you were going to go? Because you're not a tech, or you weren't a tech person. You've become a tech person from the idea, haven't you?
Right, absolutely.
When did it hit you that you're like, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I think it's kind of been in my head since I arrived to the UAE 10 years ago. And back then already, I was quite surprised. Even 10 years ago, market was much smaller than it is today, the loyalty market. It was already quite noticeable. You would walk out of the restaurant, and then a few days later, someone would tell you, or you would see it on your app. Oh, you had 20% off with your Emirates MBD card here, for example, and you would be, oh, what? I was just there 2 days ago. Why the hell did I pay the full price? And then, at that point, obviously, that was my first job, and I wasn't making loads of money. However, that frustration, that sense of frustration and walking out of the room, paying the full price when I didn't have to, never changed.
Yeah.
I just kept watching myself. As I grew in my career, I started making better money and spending more, etc. And that feeling of frustration just never went away. Every time I found out I paid a full price where I didn't need to, I just feel a little, I'm a little useless at this too, just like what you mentioned.
Yeah, well, I think that's the experience of lots of people. So we're all basically paying via, whether it's, I don't know, credit card fees, for example. Those kind of, I mean, they're not hidden fees, but they feel like hidden fees. So we're paying for these things, but not using them. That's what you're teaching me here.
Exactly. That's the pain point we don't know about. We don't think about it.
Yeah. In recent months, we've seen fluctuating fuel costs. There are lots of conversations about consumer finance. Cost of living is up, of course. We're kind of tracking that. So there's this kind of psychological shift happening, right? We want to spend smarter because we need to, because things are more expensive. We don't really want to spend more. So how do you go through the stages so that you can capitalize on this kind of conscious consumerism, I suppose?
Right. I think, well, first of all, to start with, this region is quite unique in what it is and in terms of the consumer demand and behavior. So, for example, the research that was done last year shows that around 49% of the consumers in the Middle East in general see the biggest threat they consider in their spending behavior is the cost of living. That's what they're worried at the most, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that with the events that are happening in the region in general and how the economy is being impacted on a larger scale and on a smaller scale, just like during COVID period, what we've gone through, right? There's been some effect on that as well. The spending pattern does change. Obviously, people do become more conscious. However, we're also in a unique position in the UAE where there is something that we call moral credential. So when we tend to save on one thing, let's assume, I negotiated my rent down and I saved 20%, or I don't know, for example, 20,000 dirhams this year. You know what? Now I can afford splurging somewhere else.
Right, okay.
So the UAE consumer is actually in a very unique position because of that. So we are very conscious about our living costs, but we also love splurging. So this is where Disco really comes in and tells you, hey, you know what, I'm your digital companion. Let me do the digging for you. So you don't have to spend and pay the full price all the time. Instead, you spend smarter.
So, okay, so you can kind of splurge when you feel like you deserve a splurge.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think we do. I support that.
So who's optimizing spending at the moment? Is it the high net worth card holders? They're looking to get the best out of their perks, or is it, a more budget conscious person?
Actually, I was also a little bit surprised in terms of how wide the spread really is. So we're looking at three main groups for ourselves based on the demand that we've seen so far. And the largest one by far, these are individuals who actually make a good amount of money a month. These are, perhaps individuals who make between 15 to 40K a month, for example, in terms of the salary. And they have quite active lifestyles, and they do spend a lot, whether it's dining, activities, or else. Now, because of the fragmentation in the market, there's a strong sense of we don't have control over our own spending. And this is what we're also trying to solve. We're trying to give you back the control over your spending by spending smarter. So that's one group of people. And again, this goes back to being active in your life, having the ability to spend, but wanting to optimize that spending. Then there are families. I mean, this is a no-brainer. How much time do moms spend on WhatsApp groups trying to hunt for discounts for their kids, right? And this is something I've been hearing over and over again. And all of a sudden, hey, here you go is a platform. All you need to do is open it, type the name, like it, and you will never lose it again. And the third group for us are those who just arrived to the UAE and who just don't even know there's such a huge culture of discounts and of offers in the UAE.
And that's what you learned, and that's why you thought, hold on a minute, there's a niche here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let me a little bit about your business model. How do you make money from this? How are you going to fund the business from this?
So
how does it work?
we're working on a scaling model, right?
Okay.
Think about what Facebook is or Instagram is. These business models by default don't sell anything to their users, right? This is a platform where you come and has a specific utility for you. Very similar to that, there is a very strong utility that comes with Disco. So you download it to use it for something. Our monetization model really kicks in down the line as the number of users grow. First of all, that helps us to add even more platforms because now we have the negotiation power with that as well. But secondly, also because we are not only here for the users, we help users a lot, but the second party that benefits a lot from our existence are the businesses that we represent. We have 22,000 businesses. More than half of them would be buried deep down in some discount app or in some perk that even though they're giving away their margin already, it would be so hard to get them or so hard to find them. So now, obviously, we're generating that visibility for them. And all of a sudden, we create this platform where businesses can also help themselves down the line in terms of, hey, you know what? I want even more visibility, for example. Right?
Well, I was going to ask you that. How do the merchants and how do the banks feel about it, the people that you're working with? Are you helping them to drive better customer retention, or is it just squeezing the margins ever so slightly?
Right. So in terms of the margins, actually, they stay exactly as they are because we are not coming in, we're not getting cut off anything soever in between. We're simply a discovery platform between all. So one, in terms of the providers, so these are the banks, the discount platforms, and memberships. For them, this helps them with their customer retention, right? Because what we talked about, the fragmentation, this affects the customer in a way like what you mentioned. You don't even know what you have anymore. You don't check these things anymore. And all of a sudden, there is an app that reminds me I have this. Hey, hello, that's retention. And because consumer all of a sudden starts seeing the value in what you offer again, the things that they may have forgotten about. Number two are the businesses, what I mentioned. So these businesses already give away part of their margins, right? They give away part of their profit, hoping to gain more visibility. And they end up being on 1, 2, or 3 apps that are all over the place. And chances of their discovery are still little. And what we're doing, and we're bringing them all together. So now, in the app, the 22,000 businesses that I mentioned, we also have 8 categories, right? So you'd be able to find anything from a restaurant to a company that cleans your AC, for example. So this wide representation of businesses is creating visibility for them too. So now, as a customer, you can choose to specifically look for places that have discounts rather than just go out in the research and do a research from scratch. And third, obviously, the consumers that benefit from it as well. So to wrap everything up in a sentence, there is no one takes a hit there. And it's literally, I know it sounds cliche, but it's a win-win for everyone.
Well, it seems to be. Which industries are offering the best, maybe the most underused perks at the moment?
Which platforms?
Yeah, which platforms,
okay.
which companies, in whatever?
Funnily enough, we see this as being the banks, banks actually spend a lot of time and money putting this together, just like other platforms. So right. First of all, you got to have your staff going out and talking to these businesses to get these perks on board, right? Then you got to have someone maintaining them on your platform. Third, you got to do some marketing behind it. Now, these are perks. So in terms of the banks specifically, how they advertise this, it's not quite massive. It's just once you get your credit card or your debit card, you will be told that, hey, by the way, somewhere on your app, there are discounts in like 1,000 different places. But you're not really actively being told about that. So the first big explosion for us in terms of the number of users was really when users found out that, hey, they've got all the major banks on Disco. And for the first time ever, a lot of users found out they even have perks. So, and because loyalty programs, they actively talk about these perks, and that's where a lot of the marketing money goes. For banks, that's not the case, not into the actual marketing and talking about these perks. So they go underutilized. Okay,
so right. I feel like such a fool. I don't look at any of this stuff ever, and I think it goes back to what you said earlier. There is just so much noise there.
Absolutely.
So you're cutting through the noise. You're UAE founded, you're a fintech startup, you're maneuvering in a highly competitive digital ecosystem. What's been the biggest operational challenge in scaling and getting traction for you so far? Because what, you 3 weeks in?
Yeah,
right?
we're just 3 weeks in, yes. Yeah. Well, the thing for us is that compared to a traditional model in fintech, and by the way, I would say that we're on borderline between fintech and more like lifestyle and consumer friendly app as well. And the difference between us and most so-called, like, if we can call ourselves fintech at this point, fintech companies, is that we're not funded by huge investors. This is quite unique in the UAE because most startups are funded. We are bootstrapped. This makes us very unique in the startup scene because everything is done in-house. It's done by myself and my co-founder, and now lately the person who has joined us, third person, is for PR and marketing. It's 3 of us building the entire thing without any extra funding. So this is why I cannot even compare us to most of the other large startups or any startup that's coming up in the UAE. It's very unique. And despite the fact that we're 3 people, we're not funded, being able to get to 22,000 businesses sorted for you within 3 weeks, that's a huge achievement for us.
Well, I think it is, but it obviously tells you that the original idea was needed.
Yeah.
This is something that otherwise, all of this stuff is going to waste. I keep kind of going, I'm circling around this, almost like I'm looking for where's the catch, but I can't find one. So maybe that's a good thing. I wanted to ask you about the data horizon because I think that this is it's kind of an obligation to ask you. We're seeing AI kind of redefining tech, predictive tech at the moment. If Disco knows what cards I have, the interest that I have, the discounts that I want to use, where I like to spend. There's a long-term data play here, ultimately, that's huge, isn't there? I know not at the moment, but ultimately there is. Where do you see the evolution of personalized rewards and I suppose automated consumer finance heading over the next few years? Because, this is not an idea that's just popped into your head. You've thought about this.
For sure. Look, in terms of the growth within the loyalty and rewards, there's a huge increase and growth expected in that area in the UAE, right? So over, let's say, until 2031, and about 5 years from now, the market expects to see double growth in loyalty and rewards compared to the growth in retail. Right? So there's disproportionate growth in that. And that growth needs some kind of support. At the moment, there is a lack of that support in terms of due to the fragmentation. And where we see ourselves coming in and kind of shaping a little bit how things can be done is being able, first of all, to identify the strengths, the weaknesses, and opportunities in terms of how companies run these, right? Because we are already actually in a very unique position where compared to all other existing enterprises that deal with loyalty, where we already see the data across the board from all the platforms, not just from one or two.
Right.
So the data that we come with is invaluable down the line.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. There's a huge amount of data.
Huge potential. And honestly, for me personally, this means that if I can help, whether it's the consumer, the business, or the ecosystem, to make it simpler for everyone, that's a huge win for me. Like for me, in my head, what I stand for is simplification of everything that I ever use, right? So if I can be a contributing factor to simplifying this ecosystem a little bit, I'd love it. And I'm on the way, I believe.
Do you see a time where consumers start maybe cancelling cards or memberships because tools like yours expose the fact that they weren't getting any real structural value in the first place?
I would say that most likely the opposite would be true. Yeah, I think so. Because the cards are already there, and most of the time, the cards that they get are, specifically bank cards, for example, are not just because of these perks that come with them, but they're for the other perks. So these perks come as a secondary factor, and that's why most people don't know about them. What will this encourage, however, is that in the space of providers, which are the banks and membership providers, these guys will be putting a little bit more effort into that as well, right? Because now there is a platform to compare things. So that's a win for the consumer, but also I see this win as for the providers as well, because now they will have a proper visibility into where they spend their time. Are they approaching a business that already has 15 different discounts, for example, or are they approaching a unique business? So that is honestly a win for everyone, again.
Final question for you, okay, how do you scale it? Are you looking at GCC? Are you looking internationally? Where do you go next?
Absolutely, I believe. So we have obviously short-term and long-term growth plans, but in terms of what's happening over the next 2 years, we are planning expanding into the GCC, into the rest of the GCC first. Sure. Down the line, there will definitely be global expansion plans, and this will be done in a slightly different route. We have things written out for us already. We have our plans and connections and people that we talk to already, despite being a small team. But yeah, would definitely start with the GCC because of that similarity in market fragmentation and the scale of it.
Yeah, there's some crossover as well, I guess, there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fascinating. It really is. Ulka Mamadzada is the founder and CEO of Disco, which is an app to help us make the most of our memberships and loyalty programs and card benefits and all that stuff. You got to come back.
Yeah, I would love to.
We'll keep up to date with you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. This full interview is going to be posted on our Mira Business FM LinkedIn page shortly as well.
Mira Business FM. The sound of success. Mira Business FM.
This is the Morning Drive. In the global luxury landscape, made in Italy is a phrase that carries weight. And Italy is doubling down on the UAE's booming luxury market. Italian jewellery exports to the UAE surged by over 12%, 1.3 billion euros in 2025. Let that sink in. So ahead of the 57th Watches and Jewellery Middle East show, that's in Sharjah this week, we're now joined by Valerio Soldani, who is the Trade Commissioner of the Italian Trade Agency to the UAE. He's the Director of the ITA office, the Italian Trade Agency office in Dubai. We're going to look at why Italian jewellery brands are seeing such strong growth across the GCC, the lasting appeal of made in Italy craftsmanship, and why the UAE remains a key gateway for regional expansion. And probably more as well, but it's good to have you back, Valerio. Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you too.
You're very welcome. When we look at the 2025 export figure of 1.3 billion euros, it's clear the UAE isn't just like a market for Italy, it's a partner. It's an important market, obviously, for Italian jewellery brands. What's driving that kind of growth, double-digit growth for gold and gemstones and luxury jewelry at the moment?
Well, I would say that, 2025 has been a record year because 1.3 billion euros of exports, it's only jewelry, which is the first category in Italian exports. But we achieved to pass the mark of 9.5 billion euros of overall exports to the UAE. And I would say that more than one third of that, it's really related to the Italian lifestyle. So the made in Italy that pops to your mind when you think about Italian style, Italian lifestyle. And it comes with fashion, jewelry, and all the accessories that we are selling to this market. And I think that, jewelry drives that kind of record high number because we have a very good reception from the local customer base. Because they really have a taste and a behavior as a customer base that really resonates with the galaxy of small and medium companies that makes this export possible. So you have a galaxy of small and medium enterprises, of workshop that are concentrated in Italian industrial clusters in Naples, in Valencia, in Florence, in many other hotspots of the Italian jewelry industry. And they are pitching their products and their solutions person to person. So we have the founders coming for shows. We have them handling personally sometimes the private sales. And that really makes this kind of luxury, this kind of lifestyle expressed in jewelry as a piece of art that can come at your doorstep and you can establish a dialogue with. So this is not a major luxury brand dropping something, but this is made of small and medium companies that are delivering the new product right to this market. And I think that it works.
It has a touch to it, a different kind of a touch to it, doesn't it, I suppose? What is it about made in Italy craftsmanship that stands out globally so much, do you think?
I think, when it comes to these multi-generational workshops, for example, in Sharjah, in 2 days we have 34 of companies that are coming here. It's a selection. So if you come over there, you speak to the founders, and they've been carrying on this business since generations. So maybe their grandfathers and their parents, they started something 100 years ago. So it's really related to the way of making things and that kind of know-how that really goes across generations. So they merge the tradition that they have from their family and their family workshop and brand to the ability to sell the biggest part of these products to foreign markets. So they establish a dialogue in some products that are really resonating with the Italian tradition, like Renaissance, like the Italian culture, the Italian architecture, but still listening to the local market because they are small companies and they're flexible enough to design a product that merges two cultures and that really encounters both the taste of the European home country and the local destination market.
Do you think that our golf consumers, I mean, clearly the UAE, the golf is a very important market to Italy, increasingly so, but do golf consumers shop differently to European buyers, for example?
I would say yeah, because they have, let's say, they pay attention to some details way more than, for example, the Italian customer base. They want something that stands out, that resonates also with the local culture without losing the original identity. And what I've seen personally since the Sharjah show is a B2C one. I think it's the only show we do of 50 shows a year that it's B2C. So you have the direct relationships between the jewelry houses and the final customers. So you have a dialogue going on. There is a wedding culture, there is a gifting culture related to Ramadan and the big also occasions for all the melting pot of cultures that are here in the UAE, for example, from the Indian community, from the Arab world, from all the demographics that make up this very interesting customer base here. And they can establish a direct dialogue and really tell the jewelry house what they need it for, when is the next collection coming out, and what it will be for. So I see this kind of dialogue happening, and I think that is something that is driving the biggest part of the sales with this double-digit growth that we've seen last year.
How are Italian jewelry brands adapting to luxury trends, the change that we see in luxury trends? And also, the younger buyers in the market.
Well, younger buyers, they pay attention to, I would say, three things that are really important. First, the sustainability part.
Right.
I think that many of these companies, they have the ability to deliver what is called a circular luxury. So some products that are ethically sourced because they agree to the ethical standard that are, higher compared to competition. And they have the ability to recycle many of the raw materials that they use in these products. And they have the ability also to deliver some of the minimal designs that the younger generation are appreciating more. So they go less for something that is really flashy or that is full of details, and more like something that is minimal but delivers a powerful message of identity, of taste, without, being too heavy on your outfit or on your fashion choices. So I think that sustainability, the ability also to deliver a taste that is more on the minimal side, and the ability to source ethically some raw materials is something that is really resonating in the way younger generation do shopping. And one more thing is that we teamed up with Damas, which is the biggest retailer in the Gulf region with 17% market share at the end of last year. And what we're doing with them is an omni-channel market, because the younger generation, they don't want to get in touch with a brand or a product only in store. So they need to, understand something about the tradition, about the story behind the product. So they get in touch with Damas through social media, to in-store experience, to get to know the brand, to experience that are attached with the purchases. So we try to deliver this omni-channel marketing strategy to get, let's say, three-dimensional or more dimensional when it comes to the Italian product, and explain that there's something more behind that ring or that necklace or that parure.
You're bringing a national pavilion of, what is it, 34 manufacturers, right, to the Sharjah show this week, and you're representing Valencia, Florence, Naples. What does it say, bringing these people here, about the strength of the industry?
I think it say that, you mentioned Dubai is a powerful hub.
Sure.
So, of course, they come here twice a year in Sharjah to, let's say, feed that relationship that they have with the local customer base. But, I never met a company in any industry that is coming to Dubai only to make business with the local customer base. So they have a powerful opportunity whenever they're here in Sharjah or Dubai or Abu Dhabi to meet with all customers from the whole region and Eastern Africa too, or the biggest, let's say, world customers. I've seen people making business with Southern Eastern Asia, with GCC countries. So customers from all over the world, they come to the UAE to make business, and this is a powerful way to showcase your product to a general public that goes really beyond the country you're in. So I think that is a double target, the wider target from the region to the extended region and the local target. And I think that this is the main reason that stays behind on every choice we make when we do a national pavilion in a trade show. And of course, jewelry being the first export category in Italy to the UAE, it deserves, to be curated with the multi-layer marketing strategy. So trade shows, agreements with retailers, happenings and shows that make available the product to influencers and to people just to try it on and to see how it matches with outfit choices. So I think that this is the way to be omni-channel into delivering the message and not only promoting the product or, bringing the companies here.
First 2 months of this year, and obviously since we've had extraordinary times, but in the first 2 months, Italy's share of Euro jewelry imports was up 8% from 5.5% last year. So gaining ground. So good news. But why is that happening when you've got other maybe traditional suppliers, they're feeling the pinch of, gold valuation. Gold valuations have fluctuated, obviously. What's the secret source of your success for Maria?
I would call it, let's say, resilience, because we've seen the market share of Italian exporters growing, as you said.
Yeah.
And, many of the Italian companies that have invested in the UAE, they stayed. They remained here during these challenging times. They increased their investments sometimes. Some of these jewelry brands, even, let's say, the family business, they personally invested in the countries with retail shops. Some of them have selling points inside big hospitality, flagship hotels and something like that. So they believe in this market. And I think that the market is recognizing that by, feeling that these brands are still here, they're still investing, they're still delivering the newest collections, presenting them in the UAE. And proof of that is that we have a good, selection of companies that are coming in person in 2 days, Wednesday in Sharjah. And one more thing, I would say that what you mentioned, the way that they have a product and a story that resonates with younger generations, with the way of, delivering a product that's got a story, an identity, and a style that is not only top-down brought to another market, but it's, the result of a dialogue in styles and cultures. I think that it's really something that delivers a result. Of course, when you mention the valuation of gold, it's still something that it puts pressure on distributors. No mystery of that. When you have seen, like $5,000 an ounce of gold or prices of silver skyrocketing, it's something that really puts pressure on the producer, both the producer and the distributor.
That's right.
But despite that, we managed to, make agreements with the Damas, with seeing companies selling there, happy about that. So this is one of those markets in which our producers see that there is still potential, that is still there's still good reception, and the fact that this is a powerful hub really opens more horizons wider than the local market, and that it is something that you cannot really replicate anywhere in the world.
Well, it kind of suggests as well, doesn't it, that UAE buyers, or regional buyers, I suppose, prioritize the artistry, the design, over just the kind of raw commodity value as well. The kind of the Italianness, I suppose, of it. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, for example, the best-selling pieces that I've seen, both in Sharjah and the retailer partnership, are pieces that underline that kind of feature. So you can really like melt not only gold in a jewel, but the history of architecture, the artistry, and the dialogue between, what is part of our culture that derives from the Arab tradition, like especially in the central and southern part of Italy. So you see these like cultural influences that are really influencing the way that it is designed. For example, you mentioned Valencia, Florence, but of course also Campania and Sicily. They have a strong tradition in that, and they're doing great with some designs that replicate that kind of tradition. And it's got something special about it because you can see also that it's all made in Italy, and some of these companies are also traced in our official program that is called Track It. It's got a big blockchain-powered engine to track every step of the production process, so you can really understand what every single step in production has been made in Italy and where the products, the raw materials are sourced and everything. So it adds a little bit more in terms of authenticity on what you're buying, and that you get your bang for the buck, let's say.
Mm-hmm. So the Watches and Jewelry Show it's a big show. It's one of the longest running exhibitions in the region. 34 companies in your pavilion. For them, what makes this event a better gateway for regional distribution than other global trade hubs? How important is the show for Italian businesses looking to grow in the region?
It is very important, first of all, because they have let's say, feedback on new collections, on the product that they're selling. So you should also think about these 34 companies as a selection of a really diverse world coming from Italy. So there are some of them that are really in their evolved part of doing business with the UAE. They established a direct presence, they invested, they hired talent here. Some other ones, they are accessing the market for the first time, so they are understanding from the feedback of the market how they can develop their business from the region. So it's good both for the experienced companies and from the brands that are new to the market. And the second thing is that it is the only B2C and B2B show that we have. So you have both the feedback from the distributors and the professional buyers that give you a glance from what's happening in different regional patterns of behavior in the customer bases, and the final customer. So you have families coming to Sharjah because maybe they have a wedding or they have a special occasion and then they want something maybe tailor-made, specifically made for them. And that is unique because you establish a relationship and you understand something more on how the taste is evolving, and you can really adjust the way you make things without, abandoning the heritage and the ability and the tradition that you are, that it's your legacy from generation to generation. So it is really a powerful moment. And we are with these companies not only in the days of the show, but we assist them in doing also, let's say, specific visit after the shows or in the months coming. So it is a year-round assistance that we provide. So we get feedback that is continuous. And it's really important. Otherwise, you lose touch because things happen very, very fast. And I would say here they happen twice as fast compared to other markets where I worked in.
Do you think so? That there's real demand, huh?
Yeah, real demand, and the fact that there is diversity in terms of demographics of the customers, different cultures, different demographics in terms of age, and the business going on very rapidly. It is really a place where you see things happening fast. So
we're nearly at time, but I've got loads of questions. Have you got 10 minutes more to spend with us? Okay, I appreciate that. If you just joined us, this interview is going to be available wherever you get your podcasts from and on our YouTube channel. Lots of things I want to ask you, Valerio, and it's been a long time since we've seen you, but beyond the local kind of boutiques, Dubai Mall, or wherever people get their jewellery from, how instrumental is the UAE, particularly the UAE, in helping Italian brands penetrate the wider GCC and maybe into South Asia as well? Is this your kind of first port of call, really?
Yeah, it is very interesting, not only from a logistics standpoint. There are a lot of agreements that have been signed by the UAE and other countries. So it's really easier from here to do business with other destination markets.
Right.
But also some of these companies, they have directly invested in it. They experience the, let's say, easy part of doing business here, setting up a company, being assistant, everything is digital. So when it comes to these companies, they are small and medium companies, so they don't have, let's say, a foreign markets division with 100 people. So they need to do things fast. And that's, in my experience, one of the reasons why they're establishing here. So not only the hub that goes on the destination markets, but also the ability to set up a business very efficiently. And we assist them in doing that because we believe in the, let's say, life cycles of the exporter. It starts with bringing the product here, doing a couple of trade shows. Then they have, let's say, traction and on a selling standpoint that they need maybe to establish a direct presence, to have a selling point, to handle private sales with a direct agent here. So we encourage that because it's part of the, developing the international business, which is the main reason in our scope and our mission in helping them to become pocket multinationals, as we call them in Italy. So with the multinational scope, with the ability to serve the diverse marketing destinations, but being flexible enough without becoming the behemoth, the big company that is really also conservative on developing new things and bringing innovation.
One of the things I've read that you've noted is that UAE buyers have pretty sophisticated appetites, right, globally for 18 karat and 22 karat gold. So, and this is a question I wanted to get your opinion on. How are Italian designers adapting their kind of traditional styles? Because you've got to meet a very specific cultural aesthetic preference for collectors in the Gulf. So how does that work? You've mentioned a little bit about it, but there's a lot to it, I figure.
Yeah, so they also our companies, they have a very long-standing experience in developing also machinery that are really helping the craftspeople into making these jewel pieces. But I would say that many of them, they develop collections that are specific to this market. So they're handling this market as a privileged customer base in which they need not only to just, let's say, translate what's happening in Europe, like without being deaf to the customer taste, but they develop something that is really specifically made here. And I think that the fact that they start to building a relationship, so they come over here, they make a visit, they make a trade show, they develop the kind of ability to marry the Italian tradition with the local taste. And I would say that it's not as hard as you would think about because it comes also from a culture that is really close, the Mediterranean culture, to, some of the features of what... we see over here, like the importance of family, the importance of the architecture, of the spaces that we share together, of the way to express yourself in the way you dress, in the way you behave, in the way you want to, get your image be seen from other people. So I think that this kind of closeness very well developed into products from these companies.
1.3 billion euros. I'm coming back to that figure again, but that's high growth, and with high growth comes heightened risk, I guess, to some extent. Counterfeit products are a major challenge for particularly the luxury sector. How are you working to protect the integrity of kind of made in Italy, that name, to make sure that UAE consumers get real, genuine heritage craftsmanship?
As I mentioned, the Italian Trade Agency has some of the, innovation projects like the Track It project. So with blockchain, we track. Every company has the ability to sign up for this. project and record every single step of the production process to, assure with a certificate it stays there forever because it's blockchain powered to show every single step of the process to the final customer. And secondly, we have in place also some, institutions that work with the Italian trade agency into the IP protection and the genuity, the authenticity of made in Italy protection. So apart from the EU regulations on the rule of origin, etc., there is, the ecosystem of Italian institution that's got in place many tools to protect the original product and the customer from the counterfeit products. But I think that at the end of the day, the most powerful tool is to get the companies here, to get the voice louder of the authentic made in Italy, with companies coming here with their products, with their original selling points and retailers. And that is, to me, the most effective part because it explains and teach the customer how, especially in jewelry, food as well, how to distinguish from a genuine product to the counterfeit one. Also because, sometimes we have something that is called the Italian sounding products. It's especially in food industry, not much in jewelry. So, you need to understand as a final customer how to distinguish the real made in Italy from the Italian sounding products and why it's different at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, no, that makes some sense. If the UAE luxury jewelry market hits, is it $2.24 billion dollars by 2030? Is that the valuation?
What, sorry?
I've read a valuation of $2.24 billion for the UAE luxury jewelry market by 2030. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think that would be more. I think it's only the jewelry market.
That's just the jewelry market. Well, say you hit that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's say we hit that. Euromonitor and other major consultancies, they have different forecasts.
Right.
But I think that the luxury market is growing and that the Italian jewelry exports have been growing so far faster than the growth of the market. That's why the market share is growing. You mentioned 8% from 5.5. Yeah. So it means that they got some more, trust from the customer, and that is a good news.
Okay, so we can expect more Italian brands to move beyond distribution and maybe, I don't know, but maybe some permanent local manufacturing facilities or maybe assembly hubs here. Could you see that in the next few years?
Well, let's see. Most of the companies, they make everything in Italy. Sure. The customer loves that everything is made in, the labs that I mentioned that are multi-generational. Yeah. But there is a dialogue. For example, there are local designers in the show in Sharjah that we are opening in 2 days that are collaborating with Italian companies to manufacture, to bring to life their idea. So they think about a product, they think about the design idea, and this kind of dialogue, it works in furniture, design products, and it's something that, to me, adds a lot of added value to the industry. And I think it's got, the power to grow more our market share. And I think also that we're doing our part in teaming up with all across the industry, not only with the trade show, with the B2B part, but also with teaming up with top players like Damas and other players that are bringing, at the end of the day, the product to the shelf. So wherever 24/7 a customer can really go there and take it in their hand and see why it's different.
So designed in and made in, two different things. But yeah, the collaboration thing works so well in so many industries. Final question for you. What are the biggest opportunities for Italy-UAE trade growth in the luxury sector in the short term, just the next few years?
So I would say fashion and fashion accessory have been doing great. So we doubled our export in fashion in 3 years, and we had a very successful partnership with Level Shoes, for example. Right. With shoes, bags, and accessories, we had 8 times the return on investment. So we invested for a 12 months marketing omni-channel program, and we had a return in terms of selling of more than 8 times what we had invested. So there's really good reception, and we had the ability to bring 15 emerging brands to the market here. So, for example, it's mostly a women customer base, but there is one brand that is like men's loafer that is really, I would say, everywhere in Rome and Milan, but it's a small, medium company. Well, now it's on level shoes, and every you and me, we can buy that online or in person at the Dubai Mall. So I think I would say that fashion, if we think about consumer goods, if we go beyond the luxury market, that of course it's really related to hospitality and tourism, etc. During these challenging times, I think that technology, Italian technology, it's got the same value of jewelry and fashion compounded in terms of exports, and we've seen a lot of numbers going up, and UAE as an hub, it's really important because some of the other economies and countries that are building their manufacturing capability with innovation, they find in Italy a very good partner in doing that.
I said before we came on air, you've been busy in the last 6-7 months since we last saw you. I think we proved that. That's without doubt. The 57th Watches and Jewellery Middle East show is on. It's this week's June the 10th to the 14th, right? Expo Centre Sharjah. Valerio Soldani is the Trade Commissioner of the Italian Trade Agency to the UAE. Appreciate you joining us again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. Stay up to date with all our interviews at LinkedIn and mirabusiness.fm.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.